All right, now it's time for a little fantasy football. Dean Nasty, you're back. Week 9 in the books, man. How's it going?
Pretty good. It's a tough Packer loss, but the Bills did look good. The Packers just beat themselves, though, with a lot of mistakes and a lot of turnovers. So it was a tough game to watch.
It was a tough weekend because the Bears, they didn't beat themselves. They just got their ass kicked. And you wonder what's going on with the coach over there. I feel like the team kind of quit on him a little bit. Not one target for Kmet in the last 2 weeks. One target for Cole Kmet. And it's so weird because he's wide open constantly. You know, I mean, I can't. Yeah. It's hard to fathom how bad this coaching's been over there. But yeah, the Bears just don't typically fire coaches in the year. But hey, guess what, McCaskey? Why don't you try something different? I mean, you've been losing for 50 years. I mean, maybe just stir it up a little bit. Maybe try fire. I don't know. It's not like they have anybody that can step in, but it might at least send a message to the team or something. That's the reason for it. We already got a couple coaches fired. The Saints coach got fired, Allen. And Getsy, the play caller from the Raiders, that was the play caller for the Bears, got canned. So
surprise. And their quarterback's coach and one of their other offensive coaches all get fired too. I was like, wow, that was pretty shocking. I wasn't shocked they were fired. I just was shocked that the head coach didn't go, but they fired all like the offensive coaches instead.
Well, they just hired Pierce, which was a terrible hire. The dude is clueless when it comes to managing a game of football. But I mean, he's going to be next at some point. But it's too embarrassing for them to fire him right off the bat. He can just say, "Oh, those weren't my guys." That's the thing to say. But either way, we got to talk fantasy, my man, and we have some bye weeks coming up. Dave, why don't you break it down?
Sounds good. We got 4 teams on bye this week, so it's going to be a big bye week. The first one's going to be Cleveland Browns. If you did pick up Jameis Winston or Nick Chubb, definitely get those guys on your bench, or David Njoku. Those guys are going to be the ones you want to get on the bench for the Browns. Packers, there are going to be quite a few guys for the Packers, actually. Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love. And we got all the wide receivers, too, so get those all on your bench. Christian Watson, Tavian Wicks, Jaden Reed. So get them all on your bench then. Tucker Kraft, too, as well, who's having a great year at tight end. So definitely get them all on your bench. Raiders, hopefully not starting any Raiders, but only Gardner Minshew, possibly.
Jacoby Myers is doing okay.
What's that?
Jacoby Myers is doing okay.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers is actually coming on the last couple of weeks. He's about the only guy. Alex Madison was actually doing well for a couple of weeks there too, but he's kind of tailed off now the last couple of weeks. So those are like borderline stars. Oh, Brock Bowers, he's actually the stud of the group actually. So yeah, Brock Bowers is the one definitely guy that from the Raiders you want to get on your bench. Forgot about him, but definitely get him on your bench. Seahawks, quite a few Seahawks. Jackson Smith and Jacobko. Actually, he just went off for me this past week in a couple of my leagues, but I had him on my bench in one league, which sucked. Geno Smith, and then you got DK Metcalf. He's out right now, but if you're going to plan on playing him, get him on your bench. Tyler Lockett possibly, and the running backs there too, Kenneth Walker and Zach Cabernet. So those are the ones. Those are people with the buys this week. So definitely get them all on your bench this week.
100%. Those are the big ones. Let's move into key injuries, Dave. I just have Dak Prescott. He's got a hammy. He's out a few weeks. CeeDee Lamb with a shoulder AC joint. Caleb Williams came out with an ankle, but he says he's okay, but we'll still have to monitor that one. For the Bears, wide receiver Drake London with a hip injury. That was a hip pointer. Could be back this week, maybe not. Wide receiver Chris Olave, a bad concussion. There's no way he makes next week. He went to the hospital. I saw that hit. That hit like that should be the guy that did that should be suspended as long as he's hurt, in my opinion. AJ Brown, who ruled out with a knee injury, but the test came back okay. He actually could possibly play next week. Wide receiver Allen Lazard didn't even go in because he had the chest injury on Thursday. It's questionable all week, but just wanted to mention him. Check on CMC in your lineup. I did say that. There's a chance that he could come back. They say he's not going to come back right away, but I think that maybe he could. He's that kind of guy. I'd just be very careful if you're starting any other running backs. But the last one, Keon Coleman with the wrist injury. Dave, anything I missed?
No, but update on Dak. They said they're going to probably put him on IR. Actually, they said it's going to be a multiple week hamstring injury, and they're looking at putting him on IR. So he could be up to 4 weeks, up to 4 weeks actually. So that's a major blow. And then Caleb Williams, I had most of the other ones I did have as well. So And then Eric All, promising young tight end for the Bengals. He's out for the year with a knee injury. He re-tore the ACL that he tore in college actually as well.
That was good for Gesicki this week because moving into the waiver wire, Mike Gesicki is one of my big ones. He went off like 27 fantasy points for a couple touchdowns for the Bengals. Did a little ditty too, or gritty ditty or whatever it's called. When he scored. Jahan Dotson for A.J. Brown injury is something to look at. I think Brown should come back, but, just speculative if you have A.J. Brown. Cedric Wilson for the Olave injury, I like him. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is actually on that team now on the Saints. So I would pick MVS probably quicker just because he's very experienced. But Cedric Wilson is also going to get a bump in case he's still on your bench. We did mention Cedric Wilson a couple weeks, though. Wide receiver Kevontae Turpin for the Lamb injury. Lamb's hurt, and I doubt he practices this week. He's going to be all the way up to Friday, Saturday, if not game time when you find out about CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, he's definitely a game time decision.
If I'm CeeDee, and it sucks, I'm a CeeDee Lamb owner, but if I'm CeeDee Lamb, why am I playing? This team's done. If Dak's off for 4 weeks, they're done. Maybe you get a little bit of an effort, but 3-5, it's not looking good for the Cowboys. If they should sell some players coming into Tuesday here for the trade deadline. Another thing with this trade deadline, you might find a couple quick trades that are happening tomorrow. I would maybe wait about your waivers until tomorrow night because someone might just pop up that is worth looking at. That might have been a third or fourth guy on one team, but it could be a first or second on another. So think about that. And Cooper Rush, quarterback for the Prescott injury, I guess, should be able to score some points if you need a streamer, Dave. A couple other ones, Quentin Johnson looked awesome on the Chargers. He's on a lot of waivers. I like Quentin Johnson. I like Mason Rudolph, probably the man in Tennessee. Hunter Henry, good against the Bears. The Bears did really bad last week against tight ends, against McBride. And Dalton Schultz, he had 6 targets against the Jets for Houston. Being that Houston's decimated at wide receiver, Dave. What do you have for waiver wire?
Well, I got 2 borderline guys. The one's Trevor Lawrence is only owning 52% of leagues, so he's kind of borderline. So is Justin Herbert. So he's actually only 56% owned, which is kind of shocking, actually. So I'm saying if they are out there, definitely pick them up. Jalen Warren, he's coming off a bye, so and Taj Spears. He's actually going to be healthy this week as well, so don't forget about them. 2 guys that Kiev was just talking about, actually. Speaking of trades, these 2 guys are rumored to be traded. If they do go to a different team, you're definitely going to want to own these guys if they go to the right situation. Miles Sanders for the Carolina Panthers. They have their young rookie coming back, so they don't need him anymore. So they have Jonathan Brooks coming back. So Miles Sanders will probably get traded tomorrow, hopefully. And he will be fantasy relevant depending on the team he goes to. And then Khalil Herbert is going to be actually from the Bears. He has been inactive the last couple of weeks, and he was their starter last year. So if he does go to a decent team with and get some carries, actually, both those guys could be fantasy relevant. Ray Davis continues to perform. If he's still out there, definitely pick him up. And Blake Corum actually has been getting more carries too, so he's another guy you want to take a look at. Ray McLeod actually had a nice game this past week, so definitely take a look at him. He had a touchdown this past week, and he had 83% snap share this past week. Wow. 8 consecutive games, and then he left for a little bit due to a rib injury, but came back and he had the touchdown. Adam Thielen with Deontay Johnson gone is a good pickup. Demario Douglas had 7 receptions on like 11 or 12 targets this past week. I had Quinn Johnson as well. And Darius Slayton actually looked pretty good this past week. And they have a good matchup against Carolina. So another guy, and Mike Gesicki, like you were saying, he's probably borderline already owned in most leagues already though. And then Theo Johnson actually had a touchdown this past week and looked pretty good too as well.
Well, I like Ray McLeod there. That's a good call, especially if Coleman's going to miss. So that's a great call. And the Bills will definitely continue to score. So why don't you go right into Dave, our non-starters trending up, or AKA sleepers. What do you have for us?
I like Daniel Jones this week against the Panthers. He had a decent game this past week, rushing, and he had a couple touchdowns this past week too. Actually, I think 1 touchdown. But he actually had a pretty solid game, actually. I like him to both perform his performance even over the last couple of weeks. And maybe have
that could be a nasty sleeper. I like that one. That could be a sleeper right there.
I know. I was actually thinking it was my nasty sleeper already, so I don't want to ruin it though. But yeah, I like that. I like that matchup. I like Caleb Williams against the Patriots. Their defense has been playing better of late, but I do like that matchup for Caleb Williams. Romeo Odaze, I don't know if I said that last name right for the Bears.
Doing
He actually came out this past week and had a pretty good game. He's a potential waiver wire pickup too if he's out there. The rookie for the Bears this year. I do like that matchup as well. I like Ray Davis against the Colts this week too. I think they could score a lot of points against that poor Colts defense. So I like that matchup. Some other guys here too. I like whoever is filling in for the Saints actually with Derek Carr back. I think MVS can have a nice game, or Cedric Wilson, one of those two. Either one of those guys could, depending on who they go to in that game. So that's borderline. They could have a great game as well. Austin Eckler actually had a pretty good game this past week. If Robinson is out again, I like Eckler, even though they're playing the Steelers, but Eckler is a good receiving back too. So I think he could have a decent game against them if he gets enough carries. If Robinson is out, only if Robinson's out, he could be a nice sleeper as well. I like Devontae Smith against the Cowboys. He's probably a borderline starter already though, but if he's the number one this week against that really bad Cowboys D, they're missing like two guys in their secondary with Bland out still. So, and they're starting a rookie at cornerback. So yeah, I definitely think, or even Johanna Dotson could be a deeper sleeper this week too against that poor Cowboys D. So I like that matchup as well. And then I do like the Rams against the Dolphins. I think that's gonna be a higher scoring game. I don't either one of the defenses has been playing that well. Definitely with Tua back though, the Dolphins have been looking a lot better. Jonnu Smith actually has been playing well the last couple of weeks with Tua back, and Stafford's been on fire the last couple of weeks. If he is not owned in any of your leagues right now, definitely scoop him up and start him this week against that poor Dolphins D. I think he has a great game this week.
I agree with you there. I'm going to go with Ramondre Stevenson against the Bears.
Actually, I forgot one more. Sorry, Demarcus Robinson. He had a great game this past week, 2 touchdowns. He's probably a borderline waiver wire guy, but that's because Puka got kicked out and was ejected. But definitely keep an eye on him as well.
Yeah, I think that was because I only didn't conclude him because of the Puka ejection. Now if Puka suspended, that'd be different. But we'll take a look at that one. Ramondre Stevenson against the Bears for sure. Bears defense gave up 3 different touchdowns in the first half to 3 different Arizona Cardinal running backs. It was really weird to say or to see. I mean, if you're a Connor owner, you're like, why don't you just give them all to Connor, right?
I am a Connor owner. I was pissed when that happened. I was like, damn it.
Tyler Algier versus the Saints. He's actually scored in the last game. We talked about him last week. He's definitely a non-starter trending up. He's never going to be a starter, but he's always against these matchups, man. Joe Flacco, he was awful last week, but I think he's going to move the ball a little bit against the Bills. I mean, Miami really moved it easily against the Bills, so we'll see. Quarterback Daniel Jones, like you said, I agree with that. Jermaine Burton against the Ravens could be solid, especially if T. Higgins is still out. So we'll be looking at Jermaine Burton. He was actually on the naughty list last week and suspended for not showing up to team meetings. I think he's going to clean up his nose a little bit and be better this week. Quarterback Sam Darnold against the Jags is a must start, in my opinion. Sam Darnold.
I think he's a starter already, though, in most leagues, though.
Is he? He was, well, that's borderline. I'll give you that. Wide receiver Juwan Jennings against the Bucks. Easy money.
Like that one.
Favorite Juwan Jennings. Now make sure he's playing. He's supposed to be back this week. Wide receiver Tank Dell against the Lions is big. The Lions just kind of got lucky with all that rain, and I thought I was going to favor the Packers. I bet the Packers and lost, but that pick 6 from Love. Come on, Love. What the heck was that?
Yeah, I agree.
Nope.
That cost them the game. That was the turning point of the game right there.
It was. No love for the Packers from me, especially that when they outgained them in like over 100 yards. Wide receiver John Mechie against the Lions, I like too. So we'll put him in there. And I think maybe Nico Collins could be back. So keep your eye on Nico. That's going to be important if he is. That's what all the speculative people are saying. Twitter doctors. Tight end Dalton Schultz against the Lions is also a streamer. I'm moving to bust. Running back Jordan Mason against the Buccaneers may be the backup. I don't think it's this week, but be careful there. It would suck. What's that?
He's going to be practicing this week, so I think him and Nico could both come back this week, actually.
Yeah, just be real careful. Be ready to switch him out or just have him out and switch him in. I always have my questionable guys out and I switch them in at the last second. Right, running back Chase Brown against the Ravens is bad too. I don't like that matchup. Javonte Williams against the Chiefs, another rough week for him in a row, going from Ravens to Chiefs. Running back Travis Etienne against the Vikings is a bad matchup for the Jaguars. So Etienne has been kind of on the bad list in the last couple of weeks.
He's droppable right now, probably.
Well, God, that's bad. Take Bigsby even though too against the Vikings. Then I'll say that Brian Robinson, if he comes back, he's got a really rough matchup against the Steelers, so I don't like that at all. Justin Herbert, believe it or not, even against the Titans, is kind of skeptical. The Titans also have a very good run offense, so I'm going to add the running back there, J.K. Dobbins, as well against the Titans. So I don't like that matchup either. Titans aren't good on offense, but they can stop some people on defense as long as they're not coughing the ball up. They're usually okay. I like Marvin, or I don't like Marvin Harrison against the Jets. I think Sauce Gardner is going to be on him, so I don't like Marvin this week. And the Jets had too easy of a win. They might, or the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals might regress, although the Jets also had an easy one too. I guess let's see. Najee Harris against the Commanders, not that good for Najee either. I would look possibly different if it's Najee. Najee's a little banged up too, so I'm kind of concerned for him, Dave.
All right. Yeah, I agree with the Chase Brown. I don't like him against the Ravens. I think Joe Burrow has a big day, but I don't like Chase Brown. Ravens have a good run D, but not a good pass D. So I don't like that matchup. I do agree with you. I don't really. The Bears actually have a pretty good run D, don't they? I think they actually do.
They got ran all over this week.
They did last week. Normally,
Sweat wasn't in. Sweat wasn't in, and a couple safeties weren't in.
Okay.
As well as
they're pretty solid in run D. So that's a question mark. Ramon Stevens has actually been playing well, so I'm not going to say. I'll downgrade him actually this week against the Bears though, because I think they have a decent D. But that one's a question mark. That can go either way actually for that one. Like you said, the Broncos, I don't like them against the Chiefs. Chiefs, I think, have a top 5 ranked defense. You might even be higher after last week or after tonight, actually. So I don't like Bo Nix or Javonte Williams against the Chiefs. I think they have a really good D. I don't like Baker against the Frisco. They haven't been playing that well on D lately, but they're starting to get healthier. So I don't like that matchup either. Rashad White too, but he's been playing well lately, but I don't like that matchup. I don't like Jane Daniels or Robinson against the Steelers. Especially Jane Daniels, that pass rush. I think that Jane Daniels actually might struggle a little bit this week. He might have his first bad game this week, and they might have first loss in a while. But I don't like that matchup. I agree with you on the J.K. Dobbins. I don't like that one. Tennessee actually has a very good defense as well. Just their offense is what sucks. So, but their run D is good, and their pass D is actually solid too. So I don't like that matchup. Kyler Murray actually, for fantasy wise, he didn't even score a touchdown this week. He kind of struggled this week. He's kind of inconsistent. So I don't like him against a tough Jets D. I don't like Connor either against that tough Jets D. I think they've been playing better now lately. Actually, Rodgers actually might be a guy that's on the rise, kind of that you might actually want to add to that list too. And then the Texans have been struggling without Nico. If Nico's not back this week, definitely downgrading C.J. Stroud. Tank Dell too against the Lions D. They looked actually pretty good this past week. And then that's it. That's all I got this week.
All right. Well, here we go. Nasty sleeper time, Dave. I kind of have 2 of them just in case that you are going to take one. I'll let you go first. Just I got a backup plan. Let's say.
I'm going Daniel Jones. Actually, we talked about it before a little bit.
I called it.
I like Daniel Jones. You called it actually, so I like him. He had a solid game this week. I think he could have a really good game this week against the Panthers. And Bryce Young actually played pretty well this past week too. So he would have been my backup actually this week. Bryce Young is actually looking like an actual quarterback the last couple of weeks. So, but Daniel Jones is my nasty sleeper this week.
Oh, he's pretty nasty. I like it, but obvious. Anyone against the Panthers can be slotted in there if they're not a starter. I got a couple. I'm going to say 2 because you didn't take one. One's Darnell Mooney against the Saints.
I like that.
I think he's going to crush it against the Saints, especially if Drake London's out. So I like Darnell Mooney this week. He's been really good lately, just awesome. And Chuba Hubbard against the Giants. You can flip that, man. Giants have one of the worst run Ds in all of sports and all of the NFL, let's say. And Chuba Hubbard, Bryce Young just keeps handing them the ball. I think that's the only path to victory for the Carolina Panthers to try to control the clock. So, in my opinion, Chuba Hubbard should be huge. So, I guess I got Mooney and Hubbard. So, I both need to hit for me to get credit. So, I got Grady, and that's what
I like it though. I like both of those guys.
My man, anything we missed?
No, just make sure you check those injury statuses on CMC and Nico Collins for this week, along with some of the other guys we mentioned for injuries this past week. Get them out of your lineups at the last minute if they're not playing.
Absolutely, and put your waivers. Look at them late at the end of the trade deadline. I think that's very important if you can on Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions for us, feel free to tweet us at the Oddsbreakers, email us at theoddsbreakers.com. Have a great rest of your week and go get some winners.